Now for today's program, which is part of The Pulse, Moments That Matter, a series of frank conversations on culturally relevant topics with musicians, comedians, and other entertainment industry professionals, and as a joint initiative of Moment Live and Neranenah. It is my pleasure to introduce Moti. Born in Tel Aviv, Moti immigrated with his family to the United States at the age of 7 and was raised on Long Island. After graduating from Boston University, he worked as an investment banker until his first open mic night made him realize that stand-up was his true calling. Moti has gone on to become a successful fixture in New York's vibrant comedy scene, often doing bits that incorporate his heritage. I'm going to excuse us one moment. I will continue here. Moti was voted one of the top 10 comedians in New York City by the
She's
Hollywood...
continuing on with my eulogy. my eulogy. Moti went to there and he did this and he's that. If they don't know who Moti is by now, they're gonna log off. So I'm a comedian, a Jewish comedian performing all over. If they want to go to IMBD or Wikipedia, they can get your entire eulogy of, and then we can say Kaddish.
Yeah. Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you.
Just to let people know, Joe Alterman, the executive director of Neranenah, is joining Moti today, and we'll skip.
I'll do his yes, introduction. Please. This, from what I'm hearing, Moment Magazine was created by Elie Wiesel, and if you Google Elie Wiesel younger photos, he looks just like Joe Alterman. That's all you need to know, basically, for this whole section. He plays the piano. I saw him on Instagram. He plays Hatikva with all kinds of extra jazz notes to it, which is very lovely. But if you want to continue on with his eulogy, feel free and go ahead.
That's pretty good.
I will hand it over to the two of you. Thank you for joining us.
Perfect. Moti, thanks.
My pleasure.
Thanks so much. That was a perfect eulogy for me.
Exactly. Yeah. You really do look like Elie Wiesel. I met Elie Wiesel when he was a professor at Boston University. I don't know if you know that. Yeah, my friend Joe Konofsky was his fellow. I was like the dumbest guy in school. He was the smartest guy in school, and he was Elie Wiesel's teaching fellow. Elie flew in once a week to do the class. It was and I got to sit in on the class, not as a student, but because my friend got me in, and they discussed books and they discussed issues, and it was a very big treat to have been able to sit in on those classes.
Wow, I bet.
Yeah.
Well, this is a treat for me. Thank you. First, just thank you for doing this, but also just to start, I wanted to say thank you to you for doing what you do. I mean, I'm sure a lot of people here can agree. I mean, you brought so much light into my life and a lot of hard times. I really discovered you during COVID, during your Near Not Far stage. And your posts were like, some things I look most forward to during that time. So thank you.
My pleasure. My pleasure. Yeah. Keep laughing.
Well, I think the first question I had for you is typically probably the softest softball ever in any other time, but today it might not be. The first question is just, how are you?
I'm great. I am, wow, thrusted into a war is what we can say. When the war began, I was in Israel. I had just finished a tour of 6 unbelievably sold out shows in gorgeous performing centers in Israel, in Tel Aviv, Herzliya, Bet Shemesh, Yerushalayim. I was blown away by the theaters. So beautiful, and sold out shows. And it was Sukkot. It was the Chol HaMoed, the days of the intermediate days of Sukkot. And the shows were all just unbelievable. Last show was on Thursday. Friday was Erev Sukkot, the evening of Sukkot, and we were just having a great time at the Satai Hotel in Yafo, the Arab village of Tel Aviv. That night we sat in the sukkah, and it was a cool group of people. The owners of the hotel, the Nakash family, was there, and we were just sitting there laughing till literally 2 a.m. We all went to bed. And 6 a.m., the first rockets went off and the alarm went off. And so I was like, I thought maybe it's just they're testing the system or something. So we stayed in bed. Then we went down for for breakfast, and I had my phone on do not disturb, my favorite part of the phone, and I had no idea what was going on. No one, people have been like texting me, "Are you okay? What's going on?" I didn't even look at my phone, and right there in the middle of breakfast, or around 10:30, the Iron Dome was released, and we saw it meet the rocket right over
Mm.
the Tel Aviv area, and then we knew something was up, and then that was it. I had the following week, the Monday through Thursday after the war, shows in Paris, and luckily the flight that we had left that Saturday during the beginning of the war. I guess Air France really wanted their airplane back on their soil, and
Mm.
so the flight took off. It was, if there's ever a definition of the word plotzing, we were plotzing until this flight took off. We landed in Paris, and the war is in full bloom, and people are watching horrific videos on their phones. And the question was, do we do these shows? And we did, and thank God we did. It
Mm.
was surreal watching your audience looking in their phones at a war right before you go on.
Mm.
And we did those shows, and that definitely let me know that we have to keep doing shows. And since then, I haven't stopped. We've been doing fundraisers in Los Angeles. I was at an event in Las Vegas. I have a show tonight in New York. Last night we did a big event for United Hatzalah, a last minute thing. All the hospitality people, the big owners of the hotels and big restaurants in New York, all got together. We made an event. I hosted it, and they raised over $1 million. It was absolutely unbelievable. And tomorrow we're going to Europe for Brussels, Amsterdam, and Frankfurt, shows over there. And you have to keep going. You have to keep going. There's a war going on, but people need like that hour and 10 minutes to just turn their heads off and regroup and like reset their minds. And then you can go back to the war. But in my shows, I've been singing Hatikva at the end, just so when we finish the show, people remember where their hearts are, and making donations to the charities that I believe are amazing.
Well, good for you. Thanks for all you're doing. And I know, I've listened to interviews with you since here, and you said that not doing art is like they win. And and I was just curious, was there ever any thought of canceling those gigs? And also, I was hoping, for those who haven't listened to your podcast, and they should, you shared a funny story about being in the same hotel with Bruno Mars that morning. I was hoping you don't have
literally, it's for comedy.
Of course.
People, don't make a thing of it, people. It's just Bruno Mars. While I was in Israel, Bruno Mars had shows there, 6,000 seat theater. He had 3 sold out shows, Kanai Nahara, and from what I hear, the shows were unbelievable. And so there we are Saturday in the hotel, and he's staying in the hotel with us. And then I'm looking out the window, and I see a security detail shows up, and like they take him and his dancers and his band and DJs or whatever, they take them all the way to their private airplane to take them out of the hotel. So I turned to Leo, my husband, and I said, "Oh my God, thank God they took him away." He goes, "Why?" I go, "Do you realize if a bomb hits this hotel and Bruno Mars dies, we will get absolutely no press coverage. It will be like will be a footnote on the bottom of and then it's funny, I said that, people wrote in amazing things. Someone wrote, "Hey, do you know when Farrah Fawcett died?" I go, "No, she died the same day as Michael Jackson."
Wow.
But no one knows that, because Michael Jackson died. No one's gonna know who else died that day. Anyway, all serious aside, it's a joke. It's just a way to. It's not like,
Of course, it just it made me laugh. After a time, it's been hard to laugh, so I thought people might have been laughing. Also, another one of those is Groucho Marx died the day before Elvis Presley, so that was totally overshadowed. Also,
completely.
Yeah.
Completely.
But did you ever think about canceling the shows, or was there never a question about that?
I had no. We work with an amazing producer for those shows. Is a company called MRG, which they're amazing. They produce the shows, and they said, "Hey, the theater's ready. The theater's
Mm,
ready." And I said, "So am I." I went on. There was an opening act. This kid named David Azria, and he is this French comedian, doesn't speak a word of English, and he is a Jewish comedian that's never been able to. He never had the opportunity to perform
mm,
in front of an all Jewish audience.
mm,
He was so looking forward to this, and so he was my opening act. He was kind of the buffer between me and them turning their phones off from the war, and then me coming on. And
mm.
he had a great time, and he was wonderful. And I never I never thought of canceling the show. It would never be my decision if the theater says so. The Thursday of those shows, there was a huge protest right outside the theater.
Mm,
The police asked us, please cancel the show.
mm,
And we're not going to go against their, request, especially since they've been so amazing in giving us. They had these armed guards in front of the theater, and it was they were the Paris police and national police were amazing. They
mm.
really stepped up and wanted to make sure that that it was going to be safe and well done, and it was great. We moved that last show to a matinee,
Mm,
which we lost a lot of people because it was a matinee on Friday, and I think people didn't have enough time to get to their homes for Shabbat. But
mm,
I can't tell you these shows were sold out months ago. They went on sale and sold out like in minutes.
mm,
And when we do the meet and greet at the end, people who buy the meet and greet tickets, people came there from Copenhagen, Italy, Germany, England, Romania. I'm so glad we didn't cancel it. I'm so happy we didn't. Well, you can really tell it was the right decision.
Oh yeah. I was nervous for my first performances since, and they honestly they've kind of felt like a big hug. Is that how have yours felt?
Yeah, like a
Yeah.
big hug, especially at the end when I sing Hatikva with them.
Mm,
Um, it refocuses. Here we are laughing, and we know there's people that are hostages and people on the front line and people who have kids on the front line, and we're laughing. So you kind of feel, is this okay? But at the end, we sing Hatikva, so we all know that that's really where our hearts are.
yeah. Do you feel at all that your role as a comedian has changed at all since October 7th?
it's it's uh, my role now is to give a little bit of relief.
Hmm.
Usually my role as a Jewish comedian is to make people proud of being Jewish, shine a light, let non-Jews see the world through Jewish eyes. Right now it's just to give a little bit of relief from this insane time that we're in.
Yeah. Just a little time away from the phone. It's good.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, I know we as Jews, we often use Jewish jokes as a form of therapy. And in some cases, like the producers, it's a revenge of sorts to exclaim that we're still here. And I was just curious, with everything going on and the rising anti-Semitism, does anything feel off limits, or do you ever fear that Jewish jokes could contribute to the rising anti-Semitism?
No, no, I just, I've noticed that especially when I do the shows in Europe, in Paris, in Germany,
Mm,
in all these places, that the audience, the Jewish audience, is just so in shock to see somebody on stage yelling that they're Jewish. They
mm,
just, it's still hidden over there,
mm,
especially in Germany. When I did the shows in Berlin, they were just coming over and we just never see anybody yelling out that I'm a Jew. And,
mhm.
I have jokes where I say, yes, we control the money. Yes, we control the politics. Yes, we control the media, as a joke, as a fun. Um, and they're just in shock in it. And they're so happy to see it, you know.
Yeah,
Paris too, they were like, wow.
it
Because
must
the
be.
European Jews are still kind of like they try to stay very, very under the radar.
Mm. You kind of give them an outlet to
Yeah.
Jewish, and they're proud of that. Yeah, and I mean, I guess mean, I just have a couple more questions about what's happening right now, and I wanted to move on a little bit to your background and everything. But I was, I'm curious. I know you're part of many communities. I know you're Jewish, Israeli, gay. You're part of the comedy community. You're Orthodox. I was just curious, has your relationships with any of these communities changed since October 7th? That's a loaded
It,
question, I know, but
it's a loaded question. I don't know. I'm still a Jewish comedian, and I'm in that world.
Mhm.
I'm in my I'm in the regular comedy community. When my show was canceled, I had a friend that was in Paris doing a show, Mateo Lane, and
Mm,
he said, "Oh my God, I can't believe your show was canceled. Come to my show." And I
mm,
did 20 minutes with him. He has an all gay audience,
mm,
so it was a lot of fun, and they were amazing. And he's an amazing comedian. He's like comedy family, and so the comedy community has been very supportive. I've
mm,
been getting DMs from all my comedic friends.
mm.
Jim Gaffigan, I don't know if you saw the tweet he had, uh, which I reposted, which was just amazing. He's so funny, and he's
Mhm.
so brilliant, and he worded it so well.
About
Um,
paranoia?
no, he said, I guess I forgot how exactly he said it, but he said, I guess my Jewish friends aren't they weren't being that paranoid,
Right.
something like that. So someone had a very funny remark and said we should make a blessing, Bore Pri Hagafigan, which I
That's
thought was
that's great.
genius.
Oh yeah. That's great.
Yeah, I wish I came up with that.
Well, you could take the credit here.
No, I can't take a credit here.
Oh, all right.
Someone's joke is someone's joke.
Yes. All right. Well, I know, comedy is healing. Your comedy is healing and therapeutic to so many. And is it therapeutic for you too? I mean, or what do you like to watch or listen to help you feel therapeutic during difficult times like this?
I will tell you, the first part of your question.
Mhm.
When I do a comedy show,
Mhm.
I really feel like I see it. It's
Mm.
Mashiach energy. I look in the audience. My audience is Orthodox Jews, Reform Jews,
Mm.
non-Jews, gays, people who were just brought in by friends who are Jewish and are not Jewish, because you have to see this Jewish comedian. You have to. And it's just, I see it. Everybody's laughing. It's Mashiach energy. And
Mm.
I will tell you, the person having the most fun in the room is me.
Yeah.
Is 100% me.
Mm.
And that's just that's what it is.
Hmm. Well, that's great. Yeah, well, I
Yeah.
guess, I mean, that brings me to, I've been so curious about what made you embrace your Judaism as one with your comedy, or how has your Judaism, being Jewish, influenced your comedy and vice versa? Obviously, it's a huge part of it.
When you start doing comedy, especially me, I had no desire to be a comedian. I
Mm,
was in banking, and then my friend said I used to imitate the secretaries that I worked with, and my friend said you should be doing this on stage. And then I did. And at that time, it was just over the top accents and personalities and
mm,
characters. And then you eventually begin to develop your voice.
mm,
And my voice was very Jewish. And that
mm,
was that was what it was. And so that's how that began.
mhm. There's a great trumpet player named Clark Terry who used to be on Johnny Carson's show and play with all these greats. He used to say that the process to learning, he was talking about jazz, but I'm wondering if it relates to you, was imitate, assimilate, innovate. Would,
Imitate, simulate, innovate. Okay.
Yeah, I mean, you're kind of copying people, then you speak the language, then you kind of create your own language. Or
I'm with you on that. My biggest my biggest influences were comedians that I used to watch their cadence.
Mm,
Obviously, you don't take jokes, but I watch their cadence. Alan King, one of
mm,
my favorite comedians, I used to watch his special all the time and just watch how he told the jokes and the way he presented it and his pauses that were amazing. And
mm,
that's, I guess, you're imitating. You're doing. I hate imitations.
right. Hmm.
I'm not a big fan of imitations, but I imitated his cadence and his style, and obviously Jackie Mason, the whole thought of, showing the world what the world looks like through Jewish eyes, which has changed since Jackie Mason. The Jewish world and the Jewish view of the world has changed since then,
Hmm.
but the fact that he showed it was groundbreaking.
Totally. Yeah. And
Yeah.
I guess you need to spend some time imitating the people whose styles you like to kind of take everything you like about
Yeah.
it, you like to make it your own. And
Yeah.
I know you studied cantorial singing, and I was just curious, to talk about practice is um, how you spent many hours practicing music, obviously, and comedy, obviously. And I was just curious if you could speak a little bit about the similarities and differences between practicing music and practicing comedy.
I mean, I'm not saying I'm a musician. I trained at the Bell School of Music to be a cantor and learned the nusach, the
Mm,
motif of the prayers, and then you have to develop your own. You have to learn voice on your own. And I had some great teachers.
mm,
Again, a complete hobby, not
right.
my
Mm,
vocation. Um, and that's where you can do a lot of imitations
mhm,
and people love when you do their types of singing. I actually had on my podcast, I had Benny Roganitsky,
mm,
who's kind of like the champion of the cantorial world right now. He himself is a cantor and has released some albums on on the proper nusach, the proper motif of prayers. And I
mm.
told him on the podcast that there's a few things of his I stole. So he was flattered, couldn't have been happier.
Oh, that's
And
great.
yeah,
Does music still play a role in your life, either singing or listening?
I'm always listening to Jewish music.
Mm,
It's so touching and and moving and at the gym sometimes I listen to like Hasidic wedding music.
mm,
On planes I listen to Israeli singers, Jewish singers, Avram Fried, Mordechai Ben David, Shweki. Eli
mm,
Levin is an amazing singer that's very heartsick.
mm,
And cantors, I love listening to cantors if I get in the right headspace. Um,
mm.
it's amazing.
Really? Yeah, that's so special. And
Yeah.
I love to talk about music and comedy. And I guess I always in my job I always think about what is Jewish music. And to me, Jewish music was probably a lot easier to define before George Gershwin was born. And I wonder about Jewish comedy, if it was easier to define before the phenomena of something like Seinfeld, where now some people can't tell the difference between American comedy and Jewish comedy. I was just curious how you would define Jewish comedy.
Jewish comedy is when you're giving the world through Jewish eyes. Jerry Seinfeld is a comedian who is Jewish. He's
Right.
not a Jewish comedian.
Hmm.
If you've seen his material, it's not about his eyes as a husband, his eyes as somebody who's looking for a parking spot, not
Hmm.
a Jewish way in his eyes.
Hmm.
That makes sense to you?
Yeah, yeah. I mean, I feel like I first became aware of you in the film When Jews Were Funny, and the person who
Yeah.
put that film together he it seemed like he really missed his grandparents and people who had the Eastern European, tone, rhythm. And I guess Seinfeld definitely has that cadence you're speaking about. Is there a Jewish part, how important is the cadence or the voice? Because I think in the movie, his point was that the voice is disappearing and then Jewish comedy is going to go away.
So I'm gonna tell you, I'm not a massive fan of that documentary you saw.
Right.
I happen to have been lucky.
Yeah.
This guy was doing this documentary with no rhyme or rhythm. I
Hmm.
don't think he had a point, and you can see some of the comedians were frustrated and like, "What the hell are you talking about? And what do you want?" Luckily, I got edited very, very well and came off looking very good. Some of the comics snapped on him like, "What the hell are you talking about?" And he really didn't have like a direct point.
Hmm.
Um, of what
Really
he was
felt like he
looking.
missed his grandparents, honestly.
But the I think if I remember at the end, it was all about how he married somebody who wasn't Jewish.
Right.
I was like that. He was like going this whole way just to say,
Mhm.
and that's why I married a woman who's not Jewish. I don't know what his. I remember my manager called me and said, "There's this guy doing a documentary. He's in a suite in a hotel in New York. Go do it." I
Mm.
did it, and it was aimless. His
Mm.
questions had no rhyme or rhythm or purpose, and it wasn't a. And I just luckily in the editing room, he had Rahmanis on me and made me look good.
Mhm.
Other comics just snapped and blew up at him.
Yeah.
So that's not my main. I'm not a huge fan of that,
Right.
but I'm glad people love that my clip in there. So I'll
The clip's amazing.
yeah. So I'll thank yeah. Um,
Mhm.
with the Holocaust survivor story, right? There was like there was which is a true story. It's
Really?
insane. Yeah.
Would
Um,
would you share
but
that, or do
it
you
was the it
encourage
was
people to
this
watch it? That was the best story.
it was literally one time I was having Shabbat dinner at a friend's house in Brooklyn, and we went to synagogue and we went back to the house, and then there was this conversation about somebody in the synagogue who I forgot what he did. I think he took a book and didn't return it, or he moved a chair, or something so petty and ridiculous. But everybody was just talking about how he's just this guy is just a pain, and how can he take a book and not bring it back, and how can he move the chair and it's not his chair, and then this Holocaust survivor who's sitting next to me with like the short sleeve shirt, you can see the number on his arm out of nowhere in Yiddish just says he says, "Ich gedenkt him from the Lager." Like I know him from the camps, which is so insane. And it's like, boom, he has the room's attention. And he said there was one night where I had a potato and he didn't have a potato, and I gave him my potato. And then he said, if I knew he'd be behaving the way he's behaving today, I wouldn't have given him the potato. I want to tell you, I had never laughed so hard in my life. I literally, and he meant it like, I don't know if he was saying it funny or he meant it funny, or he just said, or probably he's probably been telling that story that he gave him a potato for 1,000 years already. But it was just the timing of it was just brilliant. Brilliant.
I love that story. Thank
Yeah.
you for sharing that. And
Yeah.
we talk a lot about Jewish comedy versus, or a Jewish comic versus a comic who is Jewish. And I read this quote I wanted to share with you. It's Mel Brooks. He kind of sees it as New York versus Jewish comedy. Kind of just shared this quote with you. He said, Yiddish comedy or Jewish comedy has to do with Jewish folklore, Shalom Aleichem, that kind of stuff. The mistakenly called, quote, Jewish comedy of the great comics was really New York. It was the streets of New York, the wise guy, the sharpness that New York gives you that you can't get anywhere else, but you can get on the streets of Brooklyn. Jewish comedy was softer and sweeter. New York comedy was tougher and more explosive. There's some cruelty that you find in New York humor that you wouldn't find in Yiddish humor. In New York, you make fun of somebody who walks funny. You never find that in Shalom Aleichem. You'd feel pity. There's no pity in New York. There's reality and a brushstroke of brutality in it.
Okay. It's a
Yeah.
lot.
It's a lot. Yeah.
That's a lot to process.
Yeah. Well,
I will definitely say New York Jews and Jews outside of New York see the world a little bit different.
mm,
We are, and someone who performs for Jews all over the world, I will say one thing. What's amazing when you do shows in the middle of America, whatever the Jewish event is, they all come to. Me being one of the Jewish events, because there's not much happening. This is it. Montreal, for example, when the Jewish shows come to Montreal, packed. When I come to Montreal, 2 sold out shows at the comedy festival, the Montreal Comedy Festival. If I'm performing, they all come. Religious, not religious, Sephardic, Ashkenazi, young, old, they all come. There's a Jewish event happening. Let's go. Let's do it. There's a Jewish fundraiser. Let's go. Let's do it. New York, there's so much happening.
Mhm.
Every last night there were 5 different events to raise money for the war. Literally, there was an FIDF event, there was a Hatzalah event, there was something at somebody's house in Long Island.
Mhm.
There's so much happening. So the New York Jews are, it's not like out of town Jews.
Mhm.
Which probably is that a nice way to refer to Jews who don't live in New York?
That
Out
works.
of town Jews.
Sure.
We call them out of town Jews. But it's a different vibe. But I love performing in the middle of America. I've shows in Milwaukee coming up,
Mm.
in Atlanta, in Charlotte, North Carolina. They
Mm.
come in from all the areas. It's so wonderful. It's so, and for me, that's Mashiach energy.
Mhm.
Mashiach energy.
For those who aren't familiar with that concept, Mashiach energy, would you mind explaining that?
Mashiach energy. Mashiach is in the Messiah. It's the messianic time when you just see that the whole world is living in harmony, in
Mm.
peace, everyone getting along, Jewish, not Jewish. And when I do my shows, when I see my shows, I really feel like Mashiach is already here,
Mm.
like literally in the present. Not
Mm.
like we want Mashiach, where you're creating the state of want. I believe Mashiach is here. We're not here. We're not
Mm.
here. He's here.
Mm.
That messianic energy is here, but we just have. So once in a while, you get it. It's revealed to you.
Mm.
It's a little. There's a revealment of it. Something amazing happens at this event. A health result. A comedy show, a music show that everybody's singing along with you. It's you just see Mashiach energy. I really believe that Mashiach is here, and we just need to get here.
Mhm.
Yeah,
Yes, we're lucky to have a gift and to be a vessel of so much
yeah.
spiritual energy, really. Yeah. And did you have a mentor? Would you say that you had a mentor?
For comedy,
Yeah. No.
I wouldn't say somebody took me under their wing and I went on the road with them.
Hmm.
I did. I had influences. I got to see amazing comedians. Um again, when I began doing comedy, it was before YouTube. So I had to go to the Museum of Television and Film and watch these old comedians that I loved. And I caught the tail end of the Catskills. So
Mm.
I was actually able to see, back then there was 2 shows, and I would see the comic before, the comic after, and watch some stylings of like amazing, amazing comedians, like comedians like you don't see today, because back then it was a performance rather than a comedy act where they had to get today you got to get that bit out in 59 seconds so
Mhm.
they can clip it and put it on Instagram. Back
Mhm.
then you took your time, you built up, you boom, and then you hit it with the punchline.
Mm.
It was a different world. But I
Totally.
can't, to answer your question, I don't know if I had any one individual mentor that knew he was my mentor.
Right, right.
I again watched clips and for cadence and timing from other comedians, and but no one. I never toured with anybody. I
Mm.
never like a lot of comedians you see they're on the road with David Tell, and they're on the road with Andrew Schultz, and I was never on that. I was on my own little journey.
It works. It works.
Yeah,
Yeah, yeah.
everybody has their own comedic journey.
Totally. Well, one of the
Yeah,
hardest things for me was learning how to perform in front of my heroes. Did you ever have that experience?
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, yeah,
Mhm.
yeah. One night I was at a comedy club, small little comedy club, in New York, 100 seats max.
Mm.
And I went up there just to do, you try new material, you take the room just to like literally throw stuff out and see where it goes.
Mm.
And for some reason, Jackie Mason was in the show that night. And somebody told me that Jackie Mason's coming in. He was there to see, I don't know what he was doing there.
Mm.
And I did a 45-minute set in front of Jackie Mason. I have a picture from that night. It
Mm.
was it was mind-blowing to perform in front of Jackie Mason. And at the end, we got together And the owner of the club said to him, Mr. Mason, did you know that the New York Times said that Modi is the new Jackie Mason? So he says, I'm not dead yet. I'm still here. I'm still the Jackie Mason. And it was really, really amazing.
Was
Yeah.
it cracking? I mean, were you in your head? Was it a scary experience, or was
It
it?
was, I enjoyed it. I was like, I did not do any new material. I went up there and did what I knew was gonna kill. And
Mhm.
he enjoyed it and he loved it. And it was a great, great night.
Wow, wow.
Yeah.
That's amazing. Well, I just had a couple more questions before we open it up to the audience. I had a teacher once who told me about getting into music and the arts. They said, "Don't do this unless you absolutely feel that you have to." Would you say the same about what you do?
Uh, yeah, I can't imagine not doing it. I can't even imagine not doing it.
Mm,
It's I can't you know, that's where you see comedians working right till they drop dead.
yeah.
Right till they drop. I remember doing a show one time with the Friars Club, as you mentioned.
Mm,
Um, it was a show so long ago. It was they put the young comics with the old comics on. So we had a few of the young comedians, and Sid Caesar was on the show.
wow.
Robert Klein was on the show. Pat Cooper was on the show,
Mm,
and Henny Youngman was in the audience in a wheelchair. And they brought the mic down to him, and they had
mm.
propped it right by his face, and he just boom, 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 just joke after joke after joke after joke, and it was unbelievable.
That's incredible.
Yeah.
Wow, wow. Well, I just had one more question, then we'll open it up to the audience. I was really just curious. I mean, obviously, Instagram and social media is such a big part of what you do now, and I was just curious. Was that a tough adjustment, or I mean, because you got to go out and film a lot of your stuff that people will come and see. I'm just curious how you really like adapt to all this Instagram stuff. Has it been? I don't know if the question's coming out correctly, but
I know.
it's then.
Listen, it's another world. It's a
Yeah.
different like I said before,
Mhm.
no one has patience over 59 seconds, and that's being generous.
Right. Hmm.
That's being generous. You better catch them in that first 3 seconds. You better get them right away, or they're gonna
Hmm.
scroll right away or not like your Instagram post. Um, so that's a part of it. You want to make sure you get the punchline in quickly.
Hmm.
Um, it's amazing. It's a blessing that you're able to be in people's phones,
Hmm.
and you're a part of their world, and they share it, and
Hmm.
it's that there's evil and there's good in the phone, in all the social media, and we've used it for the good. I do the cameos, which bring people so much happiness to just for me to do a recording for them, to wish them a happy birthday, or wish their family, someone in their family, a happy birthday anniversary. They give
Hmm.
me some specifics. I generalize it for them. When I saw the soldiers doing one of my jokes on the front line, that was like, wow, wow, what an amazing event. It's just, it's a blessing. It just puts you out there, and I have over 250,000 followers on Instagram, and then you have the TikTok and all the other stuff. But I think it's a blessing
Hmm. So
that
it
you
doesn't.
have to use.
Yeah. So it doesn't make your job harder necessarily.
It's harder it makes it harder in that you're burning through material. So
Hmm.
once a joke goes up and everybody knows it, it's can you do it or can't you do it on at a show? If you're
Hmm.
seeing now, if you watch a lot of comedians, they're doing audience work.
Right. Right.
So they come up there, hey, where are you from? Oh, where are you? What do you do? Oh, you must be rich. Ah, ha, ha. And it's
Mm-hmm.
really boring. It's really like annoying. But this way, they're not burning through actual material. They're
Yeah. Yeah.
doing crowd work,
Hmm.
which I am not a huge fan of. I
Right. Right.
have jokes, I have material. Let's get this going. If I do work with the audience, it's always usually very funny.
Hmm.
Um, but it's not my thing. And these comics go up there and just all day long, what do you do? Where are you from? Is this your first date? Is this your second date? Hoping that something funny will come out of their mouths. This way,
Mhm.
they're not burning through their actual
Right.
material, because you
Mhm.
have got to feed that machine.
Yeah,
You
yeah.
know, you've got to feed you got to feed it.
That's fascinating. Yeah.
Yeah.
That's a lot to deal with. Well, here's the actual last question on my end, I
You've
promise.
been asking the last question for the past 46 minutes.
You're right. Well, I know the Jewish community loves you and has really embraced you, and I know you love playing in Middle America and stuff. I was just curious if you ever experienced anti-Semitism.
Now, yes,
Yeah.
more than ever now,
Mhm.
arranging security for all the shows in Europe, seeing it. We saw the demonstrations in Paris that were mind blowing. Just, asking somebody, what are they saying? And saying, literally, kill Jews. Literally, they were screaming, kill Jews.
Mhm.
Um, I'm seeing it now. I never really saw it. I really never. And now I'm on conference calls with the producers of the shows in Europe regarding speaking to police departments, speaking to the embassy,
Mm.
speaking to like, that shouldn't be a part of comedy,
Right, right.
but
Hmm.
it's become that.
Yeah. Well, thanks for all of you that you do, seriously. And that was
Yeah.
the last question. I'm excited to see you in Atlanta.
Yes, Atlanta,
Yes,
November
yes.
14th, right?
December 4th. Well, let's pull that up.
Let's pull that up.
Yeah,
So
we
many
gotta,
dates. I'm not sure.
yeah. That will be December 14th. Yes.
December 14th. I'm sorry.
Yes. Well, I'm excited for that. And I know there's some people here excited to ask you some questions. So let's
Go
bring
for
that
it.
back. Yeah.
Great. Thank you both so much for that great conversation. Modi, someone wants to know, were you funny growing up? And what did your parents think when you said you were quitting banking and going into comedy?
I was not the class clown, if that's the question. I was always able to get a laugh at a table, and there's a difference between being a table comic and a stage comic. I'm sure you have friends who are very funny at a table. At a dinner, they can get the place laugh because they know everybody and they know what everybody knows, and they know, we all share. For example, all comics have jokes about flying and stewardesses and airplanes because it's something everybody shares. So when you're a table comic, you know the room, you know the specifics of everybody at the table, so you can be funny. When you do it on stage, that's when you really find out if you're funny or not. So I was never I was always amusing at the table, but to find out if you're a real comic and not just a table comic, that's a big difference.
Mhm.
Somebody wants to know, your shows in Europe, are they in English? And also, do you speak Yiddish?
Okay. Shows are in English. Okay. The shows are in English, and people in Paris, I don't know what they were thinking. I guess some maybe thought maybe it would be in French. I don't know what. I perform in English. The show jokes are written in English. I do speak Yiddish, but the shows are not in Yiddish. I can deliver a punchline in Yiddish and then translate it, but I am not. The shows are in English everywhere. In Germany, they got every joke. They were like, they spoke English like Americans. Amsterdam, they're gonna get it. Um, I think Brussels and I think Frankfurt also will be. Paris was a little strange because you can see that they were getting the jokes, but they were following more the cadence of the jokes. So they were like da 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 pa pa pam, and they knew to laugh, but their English was not great.
Interesting. Is comedy different in Israel compared to the United States?
Comedy is dependent on the who's delivering it, but in Israel, again, like I mentioned, table comic, you're talking about a country that has, I don't know how many million people that are all experiencing the same thing. They've all been to the army. They know everybody in the government. Whereas in America, if I did a joke about the senator of North Dakota, no one's going to know what the hell I'm talking about. If I imitated the governor of Mississippi, no one's going to know what the hell I'm saying. Whereas in Israel, you have the entire government as as material, and they're all experiencing the same stuff, and they all go to the same DMV, and where it's different here. Yeah.
Sounds like everybody has problems with the DMV.
Yes, but I'm just an example. But yeah.
Have you ever been booed on stage, and how do you handle it?
Booed? No, I've never been booed. I can't say that.
Do you know when have you had times when jokes don't work?
Yeah, but you just pop right into you address. They go, well, that bombed, and you moved right on, and they love when you address that a joke doesn't work, and then you just move right on to something that does, and get them back.
Folks are really curious about some of the other comics from past years. Have you ever met David Brenner or Joan Rivers or Richard Pryor? And I believe I saw in an article that somebody compared you to Richard Pryor.
One of the biggest compliments I've ever had in my life. Jamie Masada, who's been doing comedy and has a comedy club for about 40 years now, who saw Richard Pryor and Robin Williams grow up. And he said when he watched the audience of my show, he'd never seen laughter that strong since Richard Pryor and Robin Williams. And I literally had to sit down when I saw that in the article, which was amazing. But I never met them. I'm sorry, I did meet Robin Williams. He came to the Comedy Cellar a few times. I have a picture with him at the comics table. Very, very sweet. Very, very nice. It was really a treat to meet him. And the other question was, did I meet Joan Rivers? I opened for her twice. Three times opened for her. There was a blast. It was legend. She was I don't know if you ever saw, she had her notes in front of her always, and she introduced the opening act by saying she'd come down in her curlers and her whole stuff, and you did 20 minutes before she went on, so they were about to just undo her curlers, and she'd come on and she'd go to me, "What's your name?" I go, "Modi." And she'd be like, "Ladies and gentlemen, please help me welcome the best comic I can get in his price range, Modi." And then you went on. She did all of her stuff. And she always took everything from the green room. She left nothing she took not a bottle of wine, the fruit, the basket, the raisinets, everything she took. Yeah. Really, I mean, her team, she had a team, obviously. She wasn't there alone. Mm-hmm. But they took everything.
How do your non-Jewish audiences, or if there's some non-Jews in the audience, how do they react? Do you ever have to translate your references on stage?
I always ask if there's non-Jews, and then I make the show, like whenever anything Jewish happens in the show, I stop and translate to them. And in the translation, there's so much comedy, and they love it. And it's great.
With the rise in anti-Semitism, especially on college campuses, do you think there's a way to use humor to, one, you talked about before, your shows were bringing Jews together, but also bridging Jews and non-Jews. Can you do that through comedy?
Yeah. If you're just sitting there laughing together instead of screaming at each other with holding different flags, if you can sit and laugh together, it's Mashiach energy, and it's a way to unite. And even if it's not, and even if it's only Jewish people in the audience, bringing them together, there's an energy in that. There's the big energy in that. So I would tell all college kids, I don't know if there's a comedy show nearby, but go to your Hillel, go to your Chabad on campus, which is amazing, and even if you don't keep Shabbat or religious or anything like that, just go for Friday night services. You can go out afterwards, but it's nice to be a part. You'll feel like you're a part of the community.
Mm-hmm. Thank you. Are there any upcoming comics we should be looking out for, and are you mentoring any of them?
I love the opening for me, Joe Alterman, Eric Newman, Alex Edelman. I don't know if he's up and coming or already came and went, but Alex Edelman is a genius comedian. He has a show called One of Us. You should definitely interview him. and he's wonderful. I'm very bad with names, but there are some great comedians coming up, and I always say support live comedy. And like I said, if you see a comedy show in your area of a comic that you think you'll enjoy, be the friend who brings their friends to the comedy show. Pick up like 6 tickets. By the time the show comes, people will be looking for tickets. I promise you, one of the friends that you're bringing really needs to have a laugh. Be the friend who brings their friends to the comedy show.
Thank you. And as we
Yeah.
wrap up, would you mind? I saw I think I saw you posted on Instagram the Israeli soldiers doing your joke. Would you mind, being that it's Thursday afternoon, do that joke for us as we
No, it's not a joke. It's just, Sephardic people say Shabbat Shalom, Shabbat Shalom, and Ashkenazi it's Gechabes, and it just make sure you're laughing at it and not comparing it. And I really do wish all your viewers a Shabbat Shalom and and stay safe and laugh. Find time to take a break from your phone and have a laugh.
Thank
And
you.
make sure to come to my shows, modilive.com. Find a show near you. We have a tour. By the time this comes out, when's this airing?
Now.
Okay, so that's it. I have a big tour being announced on Tuesday, over 13 cities, Boston and Cleveland and
Washington, D.C.
Washington, D.C. and a million places, and just modilive.com. Sign up for the contact. We're very good. We just send it to you where you are. I'm not going to send you shows that are not in your area. And again, be the friend who brings their friends to the comedy show.
Yes, thank you very much. I put a link to modilive.com. Also, please, I think Jeff told me that proceeds from your show are going to be going, some of them are going to be going to various organizations. And so we will be sending out a follow-up email to everybody who registered today. I'll include the link to today's program, to Modi's website, to Neranenah, to Moment, and I'll include the list of organizations that Modi is supporting.
Yeah, and also the merchandise on the website. We have Mashiach Energy hats and yarmulkes and mugs and all kinds of fun stuff just to remind you that Mashiach is here. Proceeds of that also go to charities, and yeah, that's what we can do. We have to. If we're not on the front lines, you can help financially, even if it's a little bit or a lot of bit. It's easy. Venmo is just, you're sitting there watching the war, and you're like, what the hell can I do? Send a little something. It's so healthy for you. It's healthy. Yeah.
Again, thank you, Modi, for helping us take a break.
Thank you.
Most surely needed by everybody, and we will see everybody next time. Thank you, Joe, and to Neranenah for helping to sponsor today's program.
Of course. Thanks for having me.
Thank
Take
you
care.
all.
Bye-bye.
Bye.